Thursday, September the 20th. Lake level is right at 908, which is about 7 feet below normal, below power pool. About the same as it was last week. Hadn't changed very much. We got a couple inches of rain last weekend, but didn't seem to change the lake level too much. It was good, slow soaking rain. Water temperature down in higher 70s, 77, 78 first thing in the morning. It's actually cooled down with these cooler nights. Now, fishing overall is still pretty tough. I mean, we're still catching. Drop shot seems to be the main deal as far as catching numbers of fish. The football jig bite that I had going seems to be getting a little bit more inconsistent, which it should be getting better. I think a lot of the fish are just starting to scatter so much. The drop shot bite isn't as good as it was. It's, you still got to fish a lot of areas. Most of the areas we're fishing long, flat, gravel, main lake points, and the deal is you got to find the bait and the fish out there together, and they seem to be running anywhere from 28 to 35 feet deep. Sometimes you got to get out over 45 or 50 foot. The fish is suspended, but the majority of them seem like they're out over them flats. Topwater fish, excuse me, we had them clouds and everything come in this weekend. Friday, right before that front, it clouded up. Fish bit really good. I caught them on a buzz bait, a spook, and a spinner bait, really shallow. Boat setting in like 6 to 8 foot. So I had a tournament the next day, that Saturday, and it poured all day long. And normally, Table Rock's kind of considered a foul weather lake. The nastier the weather is, normally the better the fish bite. So, we started out fishing shallow like I had caught them the day before. And the day before, I had caught them on a black buzz bait and a Czar spook, a chrome and black Czar spook. Well, I started out with my buzz bait, and my co-angler had 3 keepers in the boat. I think by 8 o'clock before I had even had a bite. Sometimes I'm a little slow at changing, but the difference in his buzz bait, he was throwing a white buzz bait, so I'd actually had a white one and changed out. And still couldn't get bit. Went back to my spook a little bit. It seemed like every time I pick up the spook, he'd catch one on the buzz bait. Now these fish were in the backs of pockets, around submerged timber, and we were doing it down at the dam in that area. Like I said, in the very backs of the pockets. And the key was finding those little bait fish. If the bait fish were flipping around, we was going to get bit. But anyways, he only had one buzz bait, just like he was throwing. And I didn't have anything in the boat close. I did have one at home, but it was a boya, and it had a real loud clacker on it. I had a clacker on this black one I was throwing, this little homemade one with got a pop rivet on it. But the only thing I could figure out is because it was raining, there was so much noise out there that they wanted the louder clacker. But anyways, we ended up catching, I think, 9 keepers that day. Caught 3 or 4 on the spook, and the rest of them came on his white buzzbait. But we would go out deep. That bite was early. It seemed like it slowed down about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Then it got real slow for us, so we went out deep drop shotting, and we was catching a lot of little fish. We finally caught a keeper out there. But it seemed like with the way the weather conditions were, we felt that there was some big stringers of fish going to come in because it was the type of day that, the largemouth should have been good. Well, as it proved to be wrong again, as it only took 13 pounds to win the tournament, which if a guy kept that drop shot in his hand all day, there's a good chance he could have had, 12 and a half, 13 and a half pounds. But a lot of times when the weather's real foul like that and nasty conditions, usually the shallow fish bite. And I wasn't the only one that kind of thought that was going to happen, and it proved not to happen for most of us. But like I say, a lot of the fish are moving around. The crankbait bite, I had a little bit of a shallow crankbait bite going. Everything just seems like it's real inconsistent. It's hard to rule out any one kind of bait or one kind of pattern because the fish are anywhere from 2 feet to as deep as 50 foot. You just got to kind of go with what feels right. If it doesn't work, try it. If you're fishing shallow, that doesn't work, back out to some points. And that's basically what we've been doing. We've been starting out shallow, see if we can get a topwater bite. If not, We'll run down lake. We'll hit a couple drop shot places. If that works, we'll stay on that. If not, we may go to a main lake or secondary point in a 15, 20 foot of water and try to throw a football jig a little bit. But a lot of we've been catching topwater fish also in the middle of the day while we've been out there drop shotting. You'll be out there and, way out off the bank fishing in 35, 40 foot of water, and you'll see the schools of shad up high in the water column, and then all of a sudden you'll see fish blowing them out of the water. And they're not all Kentuckies. There've been some smallmouth and largemouth out there with it. So, I think it's getting close to time. Last year, the Alabama rig was really a big deal in the fall. That's because mainly nobody knew anything about it till late October, November. But, I've had one on. I've been throwing it a little bit. But I think as these fish get keyed in more on the shad, that Alabama rig hopefully will come into play. So next week what we're going to do is go over a lot of the different types of Alabama rigs, different baits to use, different ways to set them up, and areas to fish them. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.